who I've known for very many years. She used to work for me and was afraid of me. And most people, when they first meet me, generally are. And once you get to know me, it's all bluster. It's just the hardcore of what you have to do to be able to get by in the postal service. And anybody who's a postal employee or former knows there are certain things you have to do to make it to retirement. I have stage 4 lung cancer, both lungs. I had breast cancer last year. I am in Texas and I'm trying to get back home and will be leaving here February the 22nd. I had my in-laws come over today and beg me not to leave. They feel like if I go back to North Carolina, I'm going to die. And I explained to them, I said, I want you all to understand this. I'm going to be healed. It's not going to be Duke. It ain't going to be the cancer drugs that I'm taking. God is going to heal me. And if you can't get on board with that,
hallelujah.
I'm sorry, but I'm on board with that. So that's where it is. Okay.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And they even brought me a pan of lasagna, like that was going to make me stay.
And they brought you some lasagna. Okay.
All right. So we are going to start with Deborah out of Judges, a woman of strength, a worshiping warrior. The people in this passage are going to be Deborah, a prophetess, the commander Barak, the commander of the Israel army, King Jabin of Canaan and his cohort Sisera commander, and towards the end of the story, Heber and his wife Jael.
Roseanne, can you tell us where we're at, what passage you're going to be in?
Chapter 4.
Okay. In Judges?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Like I said, this is going to be unorthodox.
That's okay. That's okay.
All right. All right. The people of Israel became marked with frailty of character. The strength of will, perseverance, and their ability to endure hardship waned because they were seeking other gods. They easily gave in to foreign gods and did not follow Moses and Joshua. They bowed their heads at the altars, and eventually their sin sought them out. They stayed away from the embrace of Yahweh, and without the presence of him, they were vulnerable to attacks. Their inability to battle translated in their inability to fight for themselves. They were sitting ducks for any army to come in. The next conqueror in sight was King Jabin of Canaan. He had been on them and all of the other Israelites for years. He would just mow each tribe down over and over again, and he was getting old. And so, as bloodthirsty and the warlord that he was, he wound up calling Sisera in to take over for him. Sisera commanded 900 chariots. He was as ruthless and as bloody as King Jabin. He continued to go after the Israelites, and sometimes they did fight, but because of their inability, they always lost. They did not believe in God the way he wanted them to. And finally, they had to wind up getting on their knees and going back to God. They begged, they offered up sacrifices. But the question is, would God answer? Would he again deliver a people who deliberately strayed from him so many times? Did these people of Israel even deserve such mercy? Perhaps Israel had broken their promise to God one too many times. Perhaps God would allow their existence to burn in the fire of Canaan. Or perhaps God would answer again, just like he always had and just like he always will. That is the message right there. A wind whistled over the valley, and from a single palm tree in the hills of Bethel There was like a watchtower with this. It was the only palm tree. Under the protection of this tree, a woman emerged from her tent. She stretched her arms out and breathed in crisp morning air. The sun rays scattered all over her. She walked and paid special attention to how the gravel sounded under her foot. She looked at the birds. She looked at the air. It was so obvious to her that God had a hidden message in everything that she looked at. She went and got some water, sat down and drank it, and could see down the valley people coming towards her. This was not unusual, for she was always sought after. She was the great judge of the people. They came to seek her wisdom, bring matters of importance to her. Deborah was the wife of Lapidith. She was actually the chosen judge of Israel. She had great strength and was attuned to the will of God. She stayed under the palm tree as the people came with their heartache of property and money. Everything that they brought, she had a response for that was willingly acceptable because it was all in the nature of God. She was a conduit of God. There were two men who came puffed up chests. One had sheep, the other had land. And the sheep were eating the grass of the other person's land. And they were from two different tribes. And they fought and they fought, and they finally took their fight to Deborah. She was angry at them because she said, "That's not your land. That land belongs to the Lord. Those are not your animals. Those animals belong to the Lord. You are just caretaking them. What is wrong with letting the animals feed on the grass and after the first shearing, give the wool to them?" They were so outdone by the ease of settling that. Such a simple answer. They left absolutely humiliated. Her husband Lapidith came home and she asked him how things were going at the city. He told her, "Not good. The Canaanites are getting ready to attack again." He asked her, "What can we do? You're a prophetess. What is going to happen to us?" She said, God will be the answer. I don't know what the answer is, but the Lord is always faithful to the respond of the cries of his people. Let me take a sip real quick. Coming down the road, there was fighting, and you could hear it miles away. Again, the battle with Sisera left a lot of the Israelites, another tribe, dead. Barak was the one who led the charge. He absolutely was out of his league. He was so upset. He was so discouraged. He could not believe that God would not help him fight this. He just couldn't understand why. Hang on, let me get my place. He was in a place where his prayer did not get him what he wanted. So maybe his prayer was not being said the right way. A little while later, he was in the side of a valley, and a young man came up to him and said, "Deborah wants to see you tomorrow." He was very, very nervous because although he knew that the prophetess had people always going to her for assistance, he in fact went himself. But never has he heard that she summoned anybody. Barak thought God had forsaken him. And now he was irritated because now he had to face Deborah. The very next day he got up and he walked to the only palm tree in the area and faced her. And she said to him, Barak, God has called you. And you know God has called you because you have refused to answer. And Barak knew that was true. Is it possible she would know that? She's a prophetess after all. What does the Lord want of me? He asked her. She said, the Lord wants you to get 10,000 men. And he wants you to attack King Jabin's army, led by Sisera. You saw what just happened, right? You saw, we lost it. And she said, yes, but God has already won the battle for you. He said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. She said, but you have been commanded by God. Now go gather your men from the people of Naphtali and the people of Zebulun. I will draw out Sisera to meet you. He said, I know, I can't do that. I can't. I'm not strong enough. I'm not you. And he said, I'll go if you go with me. She thought, what a coward. What a complete coward. But even while she thought he was a coward, there was something going on in the back of her head. Because she knew inherently that God was going to deliver Sisera with the hands of a woman. She said, God has chosen you, Barak, and I will go with you. And he said, oh, thank you. Because now and she held her hand up and said, no, not we, nothing. Not we, nothing. Not we. It will be from the hands of a woman. You will get no glory from this battle because you are so weak. Thunder rolled in. It was raining really hard. Deborah suited up in battle clothes. She wore armor head to toe, had a sword strapped to her chest. She rode with Barak, and they slayed all 900 chariots. It was a bloodbath in that valley. But there was one remaining man, and it was Sisera. He crawled his way away from everything, like the snake that he was. A little while later, we meet up with Heber and Jael. He was on his way to Heber's house. Heber was a friend of the king. Jael was his wife. She heard them fighting. She asked him, how many more men must die at the hands of King Jabin? Her concern didn't even translate to her husband. He was continuing to mend a wheel. He didn't even acknowledge her words. She said, did you hear what I'm saying? Our people are getting killed by the king of the Canaanites. Why are you doing nothing? Yes, he was old, but he had strength left. And he said, I have no qualms or problems with the king nor Sisera. I don't care about the descendants of Moses or Jacob's or any of them. We have our own problems. He and his wife moved away from their tribes and dwelled near Kadesh. Heber was a man of compromise and took great pride in his ability to avoid conflict, even if it meant letting others fall. He said, let's hope Sisera makes quick work of the Israelites, and then maybe we can get some peace, very flippantly. Jael looked at him in total disgust. She picked up a bucket to retrieve water and walked out to the basin. As she walked by, she saw this large, luminous figure covered in blood. It was Sisera. He looked at her and said, is this the home of Heber, friend of the king Jabin? She said, yes. He said, I'm looking for refuge. Barak and Deborah are looking for me, and I need a place to hide. She said, okay. She said, why don't you come to my tent? He said, I need something to drink. So she got him some water, but she also got him a skin of milk. He drank the water and the skin of milk and bellowed at her to sit in front of the tent. And if anybody asked if he was in there, to tell them no. Jael was sitting there with a twinge creeping up her spine. Jael was a very good tent pitcher. And as she sat in front of the tent, the rain started to pass. And she could see one drop and one drop and one drop on the ground. And she knew just how to pitch a tent in the hard, barren rock. She went over to her spike and her hammer and quickly put the spike into Sisera's head. She looked around, her husband wasn't around. A little while later, she could hear footsteps. It was Barak and Deborah. And they started talking to Heber. And he was so scared. He said, I'll give you anything. You know, you can have anything you want. I don't want anything. I don't know anything. I'm just, leave me alone. Leave me alone. And they asked, have you seen Sarah? He said, no, nobody's here. I don't know anything. And Deborah said, where is your wife? And as soon as she said that, the wife came around the back and said, I am here. And then looked at Deborah and said, I have what you're looking for. Deborah went to the tent and grabbed Jael and whispered in her ear, job well done. Because when Deborah said that God, the Lord God, was going to deliver Sisera for a woman, Barak thought it was going to be Deborah. It wasn't going to be Jael because he didn't even know her. These are the names of people in the Bible who have made incredible differences that sometimes we will never know their names. Because of the killing of Sisera, the people of Israel lived in peace for another 20 years. Deborah and Barak sang a song that day for a hymn to the Lord and a call for strength for their people not to turn their back on the Lord thy God. I'm done.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Great job.
Great job,
Yes.
Roseanne.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Roseanne?
Was it too much? Was it too much?
No,
Was it too
Roseanne.
No.
It was
No.
Roseanne all the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
I never heard it like that. I never heard them names in the Bible.
You know what? you know what? What a lesson. You had me, you had me enthralled, because I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know much about Deborah. I didn't know much about that. I mean, you know, I purposely didn't go back and read a bunch. I mean, I knew I know of her, and I knew of the story, but I knew that I didn't want to come in with any preconceived idea of what you were going to say. I had no idea, but you told us a story, Roseanne. You gave us,
Yes.
you had us. You're a good writer, but I've
I
always
wanted to
known that.
make her I wanted to make her real for all of us. I wanted to make her a real person, not just somebody in paper on with words.
Yes,
Right.
you did.
Well, you
You
did that.
did.
Thank you.
You did.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
proud.
Wonderful
I was
job.
ready for more.
Me too.
I mean, I can listen to you.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
good.
Thank you.
Are you
Thank
still
you.
writing your column, Roseanne?
I took a hiatus for about a year, but he checks in with me. And you know, they all do, you know. They republish my articles. I get emails all the time. You know, I answer some people, I talk to some people on the phone, some people I verbally help. I had a standard email about, you know, me having cancer and me not necessarily being able to do this again. But I believe God is going to heal me, and I'm going to be back on the JO.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Hallelujah.
You
Yeah.
know what?
Strong faith.
I guess you blew them away. When you say in-laws, are you talking about your son's wife and family? Yeah. Is Hope and Heather still with you?
They're back in Ohio.
They went back to Ohio. Okay.
Yeah, when they found out that I was because they even set me up with the Cleveland Clinic because they were so unhappy with some of the stuff that was happening here. And I kept saying, I'm not going back to Ohio. I'm going home.
Yeah.
Ohio's not my home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
North Carolina bound. And
Listen, I had 5 people and a grandbaby. Don't leave us. I'm leaving. We can do FaceTime, people. We can do that, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Good job, Roseanne.
thank
Yes.
you.
Very good
Thank you.
job.
Yes.
It was
Thank you.
wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Me
I
too.
think what I'm going to do is I am going to stop recording, but before I do stop recording, does anybody want to respond to what she just said before I turn off the recording? Does anybody have a statement, a question, or a response?
I do, Phyllis. I never heard of Deborah in the Bible.
Okay.
And
have
I mean,
now.
you learn something new every day. I mean,
You have now.
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, Roseanne. That was good.
Thank you. Thank you, Aaron.
Kind of
Thank
raise
you.
your hand like that so I'll know who to ask next. Kathy?
Roseanne, it was almost like an author reading a book. It was good. It was very good.
Yeah.
Listen,
I loved it.
I mean, look, these are my pages, okay? These are my pages, okay?
Bless her heart.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
fellas.
Okay. Betty, go ahead, Betty. Betty number 2.
Okay. They kind of reminded me of the one we just got through with, because you know she was kind of like that, yeah. And obviously Deborah knew what God wanted her for, you know, so it reminded me of that. And then that other guy, he reminded me of, what's his name? Naaman and Esther.
Right, right.
Yeah, he was a hateful man, I'm gonna tell you. And this
Right.
guy, I wrote a few notes, but anyway, yeah, that was wonderful.
Good.
It really was.
Anybody
See.
else?
Thank you.
Stephanie?
So I talked with Phyllis the other day, and like Aaron, I was very unfamiliar with Deborah. or I knew that she was a prophetess in the Bible. She was one of 5, but I don't know much about her. So like you, Miss Roseanne, you have intrigued me, and I think I might dig a little into Deborah. I've got the Women of the Bible, the study book that Phyllis has given me, and Deborah is in there. But you've caught my attention. You definitely,
Thank you.
yeah, I enjoyed it. And I hope that this will be one of many that you will do for us. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
The more I do it, I guess the more I'll be comfortable and not feel so,
Oh, it was wonderful. It was, you don't have
Thank you.
anything to worry about. It was wonderful.
It was.
This
Thank
woman
you.
goes before judges, federal judges. Anybody else?
Yes, I just want to say it was very meaty. It was very good.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you, Betty. Anybody else? Okay, well, I knew that it was going to be good. I wasn't surprised at all. Excellent. And I hope that I'm like Stephanie and the rest. I hope this is one of many, Roseanne. So I am going to stop recording now unless anybody else has got anything else to say about the study.
Hey, Phyllis,
Yes, ma'am.
you cut the recording off.
I'm getting
I did.
ready to now. Okay.